Okay, doke. Well, hello everybody and welcome to today's session. This is the first in our series of Modern Construction 101 workshops where we're going to be taking a deep dive into recent innovations and providing new perspectives on familiar challenges within the industry. Our goal of these workshops, first and foremost, is to provide you with tangible resources you can use in your day-to-day life. And from that end, we'd love to hear from you at any time during the presentation. We want this to be an open dialogue. So if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand or type your question into the chat on the lower right hand there on the Business Connect window, and I'll take you off mute and you can respond. A recorded version of this webinar will be available, and the link will be sent to you in an email along with a brief survey about today's session and some resources and tools that you'll learn about a little bit further. For those of you that may be just joining, welcome. I'll take the time to introduce today's presenter. It is the Rambutan CEO and founder, Alfredo Hermano, who is also the CEO of several successful construction companies, and my boss, who I've been lucky to work with for several years. Alfredo's goal is always to bring innovation, especially technology, to construction. And he has a lot of interesting thoughts and perspective to share on profit margins, as well as a lot of modern trends in the industry. And with that, I'd like to give the floor to our CEO, Alfredo Hermano.
Thank you very much, Selena, and welcome everybody to Modern Construction 101. Really excited today to share with you. It's closing in on about 20 years of experience in construction and real estate. Just before I go into the presentation, I'll give you a little bit of my own background. As Selena said, I'm the CEO of Rambutan Inc., as well as the head of other construction and real estate companies, including 3H Properties, where we focus on affordable housing development, NGC Constructors, which focuses on commercial, residential, industrial construction within Canada and the US, and Fresh Strategies is our owner's rep company that has a specialization in cinema and entertainment on the owner's rep side, and that's amongst other businesses as well. I first started my first construction company while I was in college, undertaking my construction management degree. I also have a diploma in architectural technology, and both from the British Columbia Institute of Technology. As for construction and our real estate efforts, as I said, we focus on multifamily commercial construction, as well as hotels, resorts, and cinemas. We have offices in Vancouver, Toronto, Washington, and Texas. And some of our clients, past and present, include names such as Cineplex, Marcus, Regal, Loblaws, H&R Block, Joey, BC Ferries, and Intrawest. And so why entrepreneurship? Two reasons for myself. One is I believe there's an opportunity, and this is in line with our vision, overall vision of many of our businesses, is to change the industry for the better, particularly with construction, to change the construction industry for the better. The number two, and another big reason, is that I believe that the return on my time for growing a business versus the trading time for hours has a far greater opportunity over the long term in terms of its potential. So with that, let's jump to our presentation. Can we jump to the title slide, please? So what's on the agenda today? Number one, why Rambutan wants to help. Number two, solutions to an industry fraught with low margins. Number three, you already have the tools. Number four, 3 benefits of a custom profit guide. Number 5, key takeaways and tools for your next project. 6, future seminars. And 7, Q&A period. Next slide, please. So what is Rambutan? Rambutan is an online team buying procurement marketplace and tech-forward services for your next construction or renovation project. And why does Rambutan want to help? It's our goal to change the industry for the better, as I said earlier. The idea behind Rambutan is that it was intended to help small businesses obtain the discounts and pricing that large companies often get because of their buying power. And we believe that, in fact, if the industry over time figures out more ways to collaborate and work together, there's that saying where a rising tide lifts all boats, or like a business partner of mine likes to also say, alone you can run fast, but together you can run far. But what's interesting in the last couple of months during this pandemic period is that construction, the adoption of online tools and online marketplaces has expedited, and that really creates a great amount of opportunity and excitement within this industry. Next slide, please. Solutions is an industry fraught with low margins, taking control of your margins. Construction is full of changes, setbacks, and risks and rewards. However, there are many pitfalls that can be avoided with proper planning and management. Next slide, please. How do I protect my profits before startup? There are three ways that we believe that you can do that. One is specialize in an area with limited competition. And for example, that's our company, Fresh Strategies, Inc., where we have a specialization and focus on cinema and entertainment. And so that's one way that you can increase your profit margins. Number two, say no to unprofitable projects. That's always a challenging endeavor to undertake, especially when the market is tight, and so it is far easier. It's far easier to accomplish when the industry is quite busy. However, what it does do is it has a significant impact on your long-term profitability if you do select projects that are unprofitable. Sometimes you have to make that decision for business purposes, but on the large, if you can undertake that, that would definitely help the profitability, your bottom line. And lastly, work efficiently in challenging times, and that really leads us to our custom profit guide today, and the many things that we also do in our many businesses in improving our bottom line. Next slide, please. So how to protect your margins? Don't go in blind. Don't ignore unexpected costs. Wait until the end of your project to update your budget. And what you really want to do is take the time to plan, include contingencies in your budget, and address budget issues regularly. How to build a better budget. Don't try to manage everything by yourself. Use your team, software, process to help. But you already have the tools. How can an Excel sheet increase your margins? Everyone has their own way of managing their project counting. Solutions can be complex and expensive, but Rambutan Custom Profit Guide is a simple and effective way to help your bottom line. So what is a custom profit guide? A custom profit guide is a comprehensive spreadsheet that looks like a regular budget, but with automated tools that help set and protect your profit margins, define and track your costs, and keep you on target for a scheduled completion. Okay, so let's dive into an example of a custom profit guide. And what we'll do is focus on the general contractor version today. So what you want to do is you want to first start with, if those of the general contractors are online today, what you want to start with is your structure. You have your divisions 1 to 16, and it will obviously start in. You may start your budget in an Excel or a Google Sheet format, and that's what we do. Then the second step is to add 4 columns. You want to add your these 3 green columns and the red column called tender budget, a commitment column, a difference column, and sort of a comments column in red as a 4th. Then what you want to do is you want to scroll down to the bottom and you want to add your gross profit and your net profit calculations. Gross profit being your profit including overhead, and your net profit being your net profit after all costs. So what you want to do essentially is you want to do a line by line item analysis of each of those scopes, to review your self-performed forces, review your trades, review the suppliers, as well as subcontracts, and input information into your commitment column area. And what the goal is, if you want to scroll back up, Selena, and we'll give some examples as I go through this, is that your goal is that you ultimately want to come up with an aggressive but realistic commitment number for each of the line items. So here are 3 examples to better highlight what I'm talking about. So let's start with the line item highlighted in yellow, and this is under Division 1, Project Manager. In this particular case, we have a project manager, and we've allocated 16 hours for a 12-week schedule at 192 hours. We are going to charge $65 an hour, and the total amount will be $12,480. What we want to do is take that amount and transfer that to the tender budget. And so in terms of our commitment, what we have in our row 4 under the custom profit guide note, we want to create a target of 80% of the total tender budget amount as our target in order to create a profit center in this one line item. That total amount equates to $9,984 with a difference of $2,498. What that means ultimately in the end, in terms of a practical aspect, is that instead of the 16 hours a week that you set for the project manager, what you end up doing is you end up setting up about 13 hours a week. And what you try to do is to instruct your project manager to undertake managing that project over that period of time, over those 12 weeks at 13 hours a week. And if they can do that, then you've just created a profit center under this line item. Let's give another example, and this one would be under a self-perform item. If we can go to Division 5, under rough carpentry. In this particular example, we have rough carpentry. We have 2 carpenters set for 1 week to undertake this work. We have allocated 80 hours full-time, 40 hours each for each carpenter. Our charge-out rate is $55 an hour for a total of $4,400. What we want to do here, again, is transfer that to our commitment column, and that's at that $4,400. In this particular case, we've set a goal of trying to undertake this work at 75% of the total amount, and that equals $3,300. And now, if we can achieve that, now becomes a profit center at $1,100. And that essentially means is, in the practical sense, if you can undertake this work for each carpenter at 30 hours a week for a total of 60 hours, or in fact, instead of 5 days each, do it in 3.5 days, again, it turns into a profit center. If we can go to the third example and scroll down to Division 15, and what we have here is the sprinkler trade. So in this particular project, we've sought out a lump sum contract of $7,694. Again, that's transferred over to our tender budget column. And in this particular case, we're looking for set a target of a 2.5% discount on this trade. And there's 2 ways to go about it. There's other ways, but these are 2 ways that we usually do in our companies. Number 1 is we try to find a volume discount by having provided multiple projects to this one subtrade, and thus because of that they'd be willing to give us a discount. The other option is to seek an alternative or cost-saving measures in this particular scope without impacting negatively the design intent. And so if you can do that, you've created a profit center here at $192.35. So if you do that for every single line item and you go through this entire budget, what it results in this particular case is a total amount of it looks like the net profit and the gross profit percentages have disappeared, but I recall the net profit to be around 11% and the gross profit to be around 15% when it's fully calculated. So once this is complete, the last thing that, not the last thing, but one of the important steps in the process is to get sign off from your team and who's going to undertake executing this project, which would include your project managers, your superintendent, your estimator, and your accountant that's gonna be involved. And then what you want to do is you want to crystallize it by date stamping the document, and that becomes your point of reference for future revisions and reviews of this custom profit guide. But your job doesn't stop there. What you want to do also is you want to translate this information to your site, right? And your office. And I gave the examples earlier, and I'll just quickly review them again. So if you go back up to the project manager, during the course of the project, and what you want to do in your regular reviews of this project is you want to see and determine, has our project manager actually been on time in terms of what we're trying to achieve? Are they meeting or exceeding our goal of 13 hours a week? That's how you translate it from the office perspective. When you want to translate it to the site, we could go back to the second example of the self-perform under the rough carpentry division 6. And in this particular case, in your regular reviews, if when you're undertaking this work and you've set up your carpenters to undertake this work in 3.5 days instead of the 5, and they see that they can do that by seeking ways to set up their work more efficiently, perhaps prefabbing components, etc., and they achieve their goal, again, that becomes a profit center. And that's how you translate this document to how it's executed on site. So as I said and alluded to, what you want to do is you want to conduct regular reviews of this project, either on a bi-weekly or a monthly case, depending on the length of time. That way you'll have a chance to course correct if there's ever a necessity to make changes if you're exceeding your targets in a positive or a negative way. And so in the end, what we end up doing is we end up doing a post-project review and reviewing, did you achieve your overall commitment? Did you achieve your overall net profit and gross profit targets? And so, and what things can you do to improve? Those are the really key things so that you can take to future projects so that you can consistently improve your bottom line and your profit margins, which is the goal in the end. And one last thing for our various companies is because we like to create an incentive for our teams to undertake and manage these projects in a profitable way, we also have what we call a profit share structure that we put in place in our various projects. But that's going to be a future seminar, and we can talk about that more in detail in the future. Okay, so if we can quickly just glance at the sub-trade version of the custom profit guide. All I want to say here is the format is different, but it is, in terms of the process and approach, is very similar to the general contractor version. But there are differences in that the self-performance work that's undertaken is greater. There's shorter timelines. There's more granular analysis. And so you have to really have a strong understanding of your labor and suppliers in this particular custom profit guide as it relates to the sub-trade version. And so but the approach is no different than the general contractor approach. And so I just wanted to quickly highlight that. Okay, we could jump out of that and go back to our presentation. So 3 benefits of a custom profit guide. Why Rambutan's free custom profit guides are perfect for your next project. Our goal is to provide valuable solutions that address real everyday challenges in construction. Next slide, please. Number 1, Establish effective processes. Create a flexible process that adapts to every project. Provide tools to track costs and changes. Add structure and benchmarks to project management. Number 2, use your resources efficiently. Efficiently communicate goals, roadblocks, and progress to your team. Easily update your budget based on site updates. Proactively protect your bottom line. Anticipate and mitigate risk from unexpected delays or costs. Increase and optimize profit margins. And that's the whole intent behind the custom profit guide. So we're closing in on the end of our seminar today. I just want to summarize our tools from today and our lessons. Our goal is to provide value to your business. 4 ways to increase profits. Set your margins, track your costs carefully, share information between site and office, and proactive planning for future, for recovery, benefits, and benefits of all types of teams. Next slide, please. So tools for your next project from today's workshop. You're going to receive your custom profit guide template in Excel format, which will be sent to your email. You'll get a free custom profit guide for your next project, and we roughly value that at around $250 for our time. You get a full session recording available, and we're right now going to give you live answers to your questions if you have any. Get ready. But before we get there, let me just specifically add that what info do you need to provide for my free custom profit guide? As I said, at the roughly $249 value, you'll need your current scopes. You'll need your estimate in Excel format. You'll need your project costs. You'll need your labor rates, a scheduled completion date, and 3 to 5 business days lead time. And let Rambutan do the rest. So I just want to thank everybody for their time today, and I'll hand it back to Selena.
Perfect. Thanks, Alfredo. I found that very, very informative. I hope you guys did too. We have lots more topics we're going to be covering in our upcoming workshops, including startup and closeout checklists for the top 2%, 10 meeting tips and tricks with Google Docs and Sheets, mastering new trends in remote work for teams, and creating an airtight profit sharing guide. But of course, our goal is to provide you guys with the information you need the most. So we want to hear which topics are most exciting to you. If you have any suggestions for future topics, any comments about today's session, please email us at hello@rambutan.co, and we'll get back to you. So I just want to prepare everybody if they do have any questions for our Q&A period. If you have any questions about today's session, we want to hear them. But if you have any questions about future sessions or any comments or stories you'd like to share, we also want to chat about that as well. So if you do have any questions, I know we're closing in on our time here, so if you have to go, no worries. I'll be taking you off mute if you raise your hand, or you can type your question into the chat function and I'll read it out loud. So whatever suits you. Okay, so I see you have one question in the chat that I'll just read aloud. So this one is obviously for Alfredo. Alfredo, what if somebody doesn't have all of their scopes and their estimates in? Can you still get a custom profit guide created for them?
Yes, you can. It won't be 100% complete, but what you surely can do is make assumptions on some of those scopes and some of those other components that are missing. And then at that point, prior to actually finalizing those items, at least you can still create a pretty good target for your custom profit guide.
Excellent. All right. Does anybody else have any questions they'd like to share? Give everybody a moment. Great. I have another question in the chat here for Alfredo, and I'm sure this is very relevant to everybody right now, especially during recovery. How do you know when a project is unprofitable and when it's time to turn that project down?
Well, you want to determine that at the very get-go. I think as a business, before going in and procuring and seeking work, you want to know in advance what your target profit margins are. You want to determine in advance what your type of ideal client is. And prior to starting and selecting a project, with that information, you would then determine if that project that you're going to undertake actually meets those requirements. And if they do, then it makes sense to undertake. And if they don't, well, then you have to make a decision at that point whether it's the type of project you want to decline.
Excellent. I think we're about to wrap up, but I'll do one more question that's been sent in. Let's say you're not a general contractor. We have someone asking here, what if my project is smaller and I'm a trade contractor and the value is a little bit lower than what you have on your examples, like let's say $10,000? Is that still a situation where you think a custom profit guide would be helpful?
That's a good question. A custom profit guide, although quite extensive for both the general contractor and subtrade, does set you up for success. But when it comes to smaller projects, you can still undertake the same approach, but not have to undertake such an extensive analysis. And so you can break it up into simpler components, but still set a target of a profit margin you want to achieve from the very beginning. And thus, that in essence is setting yourself up to have a sort of custom profit guide approach and setting yourself up for success. So I think hopefully I answered that question.
Yeah, great. Sounds like it's always worth it to take the time to do a little bit of planning. So I will wrap up just because we are getting over time and everyone must have a busy day ahead of them. I want to thank everybody for coming to today's presentation. If you have any questions that didn't get answered today, comments, concerns, please give us an email at hello@rambutan.co or give us a call at our toll-free number. We're here to help and we're happy to answer any questions you may have. Stay tuned for our upcoming webinars. These will be free monthly sessions and we hope to see everybody back again soon. Thanks everybody for stopping by and I hope you have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.